The Holy Trinity has been completed. We're here to discuss part 3 of Jeen-Yuhs, the Netflix exclusive documentary on the man, the myth, the legend, Kanye West. I'm Cassius Morris of SoundMojo, Joe Pacheco joining me, and we are collabing today with the honorable gents over at DBTH Radio, Muck and Dre, the Music Man. Guys, what's happening?
Doing good, Cassius. Doing good.
Hey, how's it going?
Chat with you. It's going real good. Joe, what's up?
I wanted to ask you, did you write that down? Like, that was a really nice intro, man.
I have a thesaurus on my left, and I just sort of went through the pages and made it up.
I was like, as I'm listening to it, I'm like, wow, this is really good. You know, like
this is some crafty stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Cool.
So, part 3 of Jeen-Yuhs. This is, I think it's safe to say this was a roller coaster ride of an episode. I mean, we start really at a crazy focal point for Kanye in his career, and we sort of just go full speed ahead from there. I mean, who wants to jump in?
Well, I mean, I guess get the ball rolling here. I started our video for the second part. I was just like so excited to talk about it. You know, like they left you feeling good. I got to say, after watching the third one, I was pretty beat down, man.
It's like getting hit by a train.
This was a real downer, man. Yeah, no, I have to say I was very emotionally affected. Yeah, it really did not leave you like the other ones left you, kind of inspired and uplifted. This was a real downer overall. Yeah, that's my summary, I guess.
Yeah, I'm glad I felt that way too. I realized as I'm setting up, I'm like, I'm not that as excited to talk about this one, you know, as where last week I was like, all right, man, this is cool. This is great. You know, so yeah, not alone in this one.
They definitely cover some very serious topics on this one. I generally felt sad, and I felt for Kanye at the end. You know, it must not be easy for him to take so much on and also have such a weight to bear with the mental challenges that he's got, or he was saying potentially bipolar disorder. So it must be a definite struggle on top of everything. And I felt bad for the guy. I really did.
Mm-hmm.
No question. You know, it starts out, at least, I mean, there was a little bit of good news in the beginning, of course, with the Grammy win. So, I mean, how do you guys think that Grammy win, like maybe I could pass it to Joe, affected Kanye? Because when you win 3 Grammys for your debut album, that's going to do something to you.
I think it's just fuel for the fire that was already burning.
Yeah.
Man. You know what I mean? Like
all of it was, as we've mentioned, you know, in past parts.
Exactly. So I actually had put a note here because it was so like cool to see him sort of let loose and enjoy it. And he couldn't even say he kept saying Cootie's name, calling him GK, you know, and it's like, and then he said, it made me laugh. I was like, oh wow, I see a normal guy who even said, like, what did he say? No more for me, no more for Kanye to drink, you know? Like
Hennessy is going to be the death of me.
That's it. Hennessy's going to be the death of me.
Which is prophetic because that's what actually caused him to go on stage with Taylor Swift. He was on the red carpet with a bottle of Hennessy right before. So it's almost foreshadowing in a weird way.
Yeah. That's
wow.
Dre, what do you think?
Look, 3 Grammys on the first album, 6 Grammys on the second one. If I got it correct, so that's 9 Grammys in your first 2, and those are wins, not even nominations. I mean, at this point, I think the weight of his success is getting to his head. Those drunk clips, oh my God. So it was so good and so awkward at the same time, you know, like I think we've all been there where we've had one too many drinks and, you know, we say the wrong thing at the wrong time. I think that is forgivable, but you can see how disappointed Cootie is at this whole situation, you know, like he kind of, I think at that point they had not a falling out, but there was a separation, and this was him coming back into the fold with his video camera here at the Grammys, trying to get some a clip of Kanye for his Channel Zero and this and that. So I could see just how disappointed Cootie was. So that was a challenge to watch, man. Yeah.
It's really hard too, because I mean, he helped him get to where he was, and you could see in his face, he felt like he was sort of forgotten for all the work that he had put in. I mean, that must be insanely challenging.
Yeah, but it's part of the gig, you know, like you do, you know, like he took a chance on 20 years ago, you know, deciding I'm just going to shoot this guy. This guy has something special, you know, and he was right. But yeah, I know what it's like, you know, you're part of the family, and then all of a sudden, like you said, I'm on the outside looking in now all of a sudden, you know, so yeah, that is tough. It's like a loss, you know?
Yeah. Go ahead.
I think at one point he said too, like Kanye invited Cudi to come with him to shoot the tour, and the crew was like, "Sorry, man, there's no room for you on in like the bus or whatever.
Right.
Time to stay behind. No, catch you next time."
Yeah.
It's insane, and it's almost reminiscent of when we saw Kanye at the the Rock Nation after party in part 1, trying to shake Jay-Z's hand and stuff. But Jay-Z is so big at this point, it's not cool for him to talk to Kanye. I mean, those guys probably never thought it would turn the other way around.
That's right.
No one ever thought.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's how it seems through the documentary. I mean, so it's insane. So, I mean, after this point, we sort of see a lot of assorted Kanye controversy. Maybe I could ask, like, maybe Muck, I'll pass it to you. What do you think about the Kanye controversy in general from, let's say 2010 on?
Oh, man, I don't know. That's such a big topic to cover.
So many different things.
I think it's valid. I think he goes out there and he says a lot of crazy things, but I think he means what he says truly. Like deep down, a lot of the things he wants to say, and I think he touches on it a lot at the end of the documentary, is like he goes out with good intentions. It's just he has so much heart that he's like overstepping boundaries.
Good way to put it.
It's true. And you know what, just to add to what Muck's point was, at some point near the beginning of the documentary, he mentions how it's time to put the face on. I don't remember how he says, but you get the impression that he's acting. He's taken on some sort of persona, and he's doing that when he's in the public eye. And I feel like a lot of the early mischief, like pre-Donda's death, was probably orchestrated and very much in his control. I think he still had control over what was going on at that point. I know that, I mean, it's quite obvious he was drinking and who knows about the drugs and whatever else was happening too. So how much control, I'm not sure, but it was premeditated. And I think it was very much on purpose. What he was doing at that point until his mom passes away. After that, things get a little bit darker, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, there was that line where Cudi said, I knew Kanye, but I've never met Yeezy.
That's it. That's the one. Yeah.
Wow. And that's insane to think about because it's like Eminem and Slim Shady or a lot of these guys. It's like that split line that changes them once they make it to the fame, It's insane to actually look at that. And, one of the things that was cool for me, after this point, because there were so many different issues here, I think it's hard to condense. But the Pablo listening party at Madison Square Garden. So this is sort of where Cudi, was this one of the first big gigs he came back for, Dre? I mean,
yeah.
Yeah. This was, I think Pablo dropped in 2016, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it's about right. 2016. Yeah. So this is Cudi getting back into the fold. Oh my goodness. When I saw how he was doing his album launch, I'm like, fuck, the guy put a stadium full of people together to listen to music for the first time. There's not a chance in hell I would ever try and attempt that. I don't know how he looked like he was having such a good time. It really did. He was singing along and he was hugging his crew, and they were all, they were in the vibe, of the whole event. But man, for the first time showing that many people the songs, how do you not guarantee a boo? It reminds me of it reminds me of I'm a Tom Waits fan, and this guy in the 70s, he'd go out and he'd perform live shows with material that was never heard by anybody else. That was his premiere, he'd perform it live. And it reminded me something like along those lines. It takes courage, man, for sure.
I always remember as a kid reading interviews, and like a lot of bands would try out new material on the road, the new song. Oh, we're going to try it. And people appreciate it. I've even been to a few shows where they've tried out new material. I mean, it's always like, you're right. You're literally, hanging by a wire there or hanging by a thread, like it can go either way. But I mean, like my reaction when I realized what room they were in, what was going on, I was like, wow, imagine like having the Madison Square Garden for a listening party, dude. I just said, wow. That's what I said. I mean, I've gone to listening parties, they're either in studios, restaurants, or a nice venue, but not the Madison Square Garden, man.
I know.
It's ridiculous.
That's on another level.
Yeah, and he's passing Young Thug. I mean, meanwhile, this is being done over an aux cord. And he's like passing Young Thug the aux cord. Play your new music, you're unreleased. And I mean, this is sort of the blueprint, if you think about it, for the Donda stadium events. because this was the first thing he did, you know.
I've had that idea before. Like, I mean, like the way the studio, like stuff is made in the studio. I've thought about it before, man. What if, like, I remember I was mixing with a client, and like we're mixing a song or an album, and I was thinking, what if this was the show? Like, what if you go on tour and you're mixing, and the conversations and the experiences and that sounds great, or that was an awesome performance. What if that's the show? And it's pretty much what he's kind of doing.
It's true. Yeah.
Even with a documentary, right? I mean, the progress is the process is the content, if you think about it.
Yeah, with everything he does, you see that he turns everything into the content, from the clothing lines he's working on to the shoes to the what was it, the Oprah stint he did. I mean, he released a new song on Oprah, right, for his mom. So every opportunity he can get to make content from it, he will take, and I think that's got to be tough to always be on like that.
But the thing is to do it in such a unique way that no one's really ever done that. You know, that's the trick, man. That's what's freaky.
Yeah, he consistently does that. You guys are right, and it makes me question his entourage, his team. I mean, we know that increasingly. I had no idea that Donda was such a presence in his life. You know, she almost took on a managerial role before she passed away. You know, and you kept seeing her more at the events. She was more in charge of things. And she was taking a hold a little bit of his career. And I wonder who else he has around him that's contributing to these ideas. Who else is he brainstorming with? Is he bouncing his ideas off of? It may just be him, and that might just be enough for him to do it. But I don't know. It is incredibly innovative. Yeah.
I would honestly, the way from what I've seen, obviously, is like you don't see anyone else. Well, maybe it's the way it's edited. You got a point, but like it does seem like it just comes from him.
It totally seems that way. And I mean, we're talking about his whole methods. How much of this do you think is prevalent now? Because it seems like the past couple years with the whole divorce thing, all these, the Pete Davidson thing, which is just kicking off again this week. How much of this do you guys think is still being orchestrated? Because Dre, you were saying post Donda passing, it hasn't been as bad, but it seems to have been kicking up again.
Well, I mean, I guess I can answer with a question. Do you think mental illness is driving the train here? Because there's no doubt that there is tons of motivation still in the tank, but I feel like the train's kind of gotten derailed, and I think that's mental illness talking. My personal opinion is that I think the guy is suffering something, and it seems like he's surrounded by a bunch of yes people that won't necessarily tell him if he does actually need to get help or check himself into something. So like, it's very hard to know right now. Do you think he's consistently struggling with mental illness on a regular basis? Or is it come in flare-ups? That's my question to you guys. How do we know, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Like
we can't know. Yeah,
I think it's both. To be honest with you, I think. I mean, if someone was to ask me, is Kanye mentally ill? I think the answer is 100% yes. But he's obviously not ill enough that he doesn't know what's going on, at least in his immediate surroundings, enough to succeed. So it's one of those things where it's like I think it is a driving force, but in my opinion, I don't think it's driving the train, because if it was, I think he could be one of those amazing dudes who just never made it, What do you guys think?
Good point. His output is consistent. He did launch a fashion line. There's a lot that went into that. And although I am no expert, I have been wearing polo shirts for this entire 3 series. I'm no fashion
That's what he was wearing most of the doc.
That's very true. But, I feel like he executed that well, and it has been generally well received. People are talking about it. People are wearing it. So I think I'd have to agree with you, Cassius. I think he has flare-ups where things get a little out of control and he gets a little derailed, but maybe he's got enough sense left to kind of put the train back on the tracks. I think that's what we're getting at.
Maybe he surrounding himself in the work is the way that he is able to kind of keep himself on track. Because I mean, even just a couple of weeks ago, when I was talking to this just briefly before we started, but I saw another Sunday Service episode, and they touch on that in the documentary. So he's still going, and he's still sharp. I mean, I saw him walking around there, and he was questioning people that were recording with their phones, like, "Hey, what are you doing? Why are you doing this for? What are you recording?" So like he's still conscious of what's going on, and he's still very much aware that the content that he's recording and building is very special and very unique, and he needs to keep that on, as tight of a control as possible. So he still has that ship kind of on rails.
Good point.
Oh, that's a great point. Here's a theory, a wild theory. Maybe Kanye is just as crazy and or sane as most other musicians, but he's just worse at hiding whatever he is that's underlying. Do you think that's fair to say?
It's a tough one, Cassius. Man.
It's a tough one, right? Because we don't really know.
I know, and these are very hard. I want to humble myself to not act like I definitively know what's going on psychologically.
The expert.
Yeah, I am no expert in psychology. I'm giving you my take on just what I saw in that documentary. And I mean, as far as most musicians, I don't think that's true. I think that there are a lot of musicians and creative types that are very well grounded. And I think that I know a lot of them. I know a lot of really like genius people that I would consider genius that manage their life in a way where you wouldn't necessarily know about their creative genius. Yeah, so I don't think that's a necessity to be creative. Maybe doing something like what Kanye has, the empire that he's managed to build, maybe that does take a little more craziness, man, a little more instability to even want to go down that road and kind of sacrifice everything else in your life to get it done. You might be right about that. Yeah.
I just think it's part of maybe the bipolarness, like when he's on, he's straight up, does the music, and that's it, the focus. Like you said, he was sharp on the recent Sunday service. And then and this, he's just a human, man. Like, I mean, he's obviously got some pain with the whole Pete Davidson thing and all that stuff, and he won't let it go. And he's playing it out in like as if it's like everybody's just part of it, like everyone's just part of the music that he's creating. You're listening to it while I'm listening to it, like 20,000 people. He's just playing it out there, man. It's just a show for him, maybe.
I think his dad said something very important when he did the speech about anti-abortion and whatnot. His dad said, "Let someone else write your speeches," because like when he's really emotional about something, the stuff that comes out of his mouth is like kind of not even thought about. He just lashes out to get his point across as deeply from his heart as he can, and that's kind of seen as craziness because it's very intense.
Yeah, it's like we have to look at it from his perspective. He's just being himself, right? So it's like this is just an experience.
Exactly.
This is the universe just like experiencing itself through this lens, But we're all looking at it because this, like he says it so many times. I shouldn't say this, but this is what it is. This is what I want to be. I shouldn't say this because it's wrong to say I'm a genius, right? Like the whole thing started with, I think it was his name, Fest. Yeah, saying, it's not for you to say you're a genius. It's for other people to say that you're a genience, right? So
and you're lucky to even get that.
That's it, but it's wow. It's just like, it's an interesting, whole experiment if you think about it, like just like watching this, like having some popcorn and watching this guy's life play out, it's crazy. And we get to see it.
The luxury of modern media, man. It's mental. Yeah. What do you guys think, man? For me, I heard, I wanted to ask you guys this. I felt like after Donda passed away was when shit hit the fan. Oh, yeah. And I even heard it in his voice. Something changed in the man's voice. Was it just me? Because he started speaking differently. And it caught my ear right away. I think it did happen right after Donda passed away. I don't know what that was about, but there was a real shift in character after that.
Yeah, I think that's when the Yeezy came in.
Well, yeah, I think so. But I also think That's a great point because, I noticed, especially in part one, I mean, the way he was speaking was totally fake. Like you can tell this, not his voice, it's not his mannerisms. And he was trying to be someone he wasn't. Right. And I think that maybe after Donda passed, I think he just completely dropped that, man. Because he was always trying to do this low voice. Like he was a sort of speaking in a street fashion and stuff, but really he's a very proper, very well-spoken guy with actually a higher pitch voice. So yeah, I think that definitely comes out, like you're saying, Dre, for sure.
Well, he says, you're going to love me or hate me, but I'm going to be me.
That's it. That's a great quote.
Yeah, that's where he got to.
And in 2017, we see Coodie come back for sort of a semi-second return, and also the recording sessions of Kids See Ghost, which is probably one of my favorite projects with Kanye. I mean, what do we think about this whole segment?
Okay, well, I just have to say how adorable it was to see Kanye and Coodie see each other for the first time in a long time, when they hugged it out, and like even see Kanye's head kind of tilt on Coodie's head. Like, it was so cute, man. No, warmed my heart for real. But that's why I feel like that was just a super clear example of what the relationship was. These two men cared about each other. I think that's a fact. It wasn't just a relationship based on the documentary. It was more than that. And I think it's very clear at that point. As far as the collab you talk about, Cassius, I don't know too much about that.
It's an interesting project. So anyone who doesn't know, it's Kids See Ghost is the name of a group between Kanye West and Kid Cudi. And the group has done one project. They've done a couple of concerts, and that was it. But it was strange for me, at least, to watch that, because Kid Cudi and Kanye now estranged. And Kid Cudi almost attacking a paparazzi in the street recently just for asking about it. So it's crazy to see. I don't know what you guys think on this, but Kanye seems to have very volatile relationships. It's like he's cool with somebody and then they're not. Did you guys notice that?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, go ahead, Joe.
No, I was just saying, it's the bipolar, the whole with someone like that, you don't know how to take them, like you never know one day from the next or one moment to the next, right? So that's what I think is definitely what we're seeing.
Oh, yeah, that's true. And also I noticed when they were, I don't think they were in a studio, but they were in a room recording, and Kid Cudi gets on the mic and he does his verse or whatever. And then he comes off and he's talking to the camera and he's like, yeah, I could really get down with what Kanye is saying about, the spiritual aspect and having somebody higher than you. And, that part of the message, but I don't really fuck with the whole ego trip. He said it, like, oh, right. He's like, I don't mess around with all that genius talk, or however he put it. So you can tell that even at that point, even when they were working together, they did have a different kind of mentality about life, I guess, or a different philosophy that they were working with. It's interesting that they collaborated. It's very cool that you told me, Cassius. I wasn't aware of that, because I always attributed Kanye West and Kid Cudi bringing melody into hip hop. I feel like both of them contributed in that way, in a very, very similar way. So I guess it makes perfect sense that they work together.
It makes perfect sense. And I mean, there's such a good collab, and Kid Cudi getting mad saying, I've been the best part of your albums, Kanye, since I came on them, which I don't know if it's necessarily completely true, but it's pretty damn close.
Yeah, he's had some great bars on some Kanye songs. And I think he's been featured on most of the albums, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Ever since I think Twisted Fantasy, which we can see right there. I think that was the tipping point.
Yeah.
The next part of the doc, of course, talking a little bit about Yeezy and the shoes, but of course the Trump controversy, which has been, a huge thing on Kanye's career. I guess maybe I could ask all of us, starting with Joe, what do you think of celebrities talking about politics in general? Because that's sort of, I think, the main root of the issue.
Well, I think, like people say, you often see them say, just stick to your music and stay out of politics and stuff. But I mean, like, if it's freedom of speech for you, it should be freedom of speech for them. They're human. They pay their taxes. It's your choice to listen to their music or not, or like care about whatever they say. I obviously don't care about what these people say. I'm not into the drama part of things. But I mean, I think, they're like, they have the right to say what they want to say.
What do you guys think?
I think if they step up to the political platform and want to do something, then, you know, show me what your policies are. And if I agree with them, then maybe I will vote with you for you. If I don't agree with them, too bad. I don't think that we should take the fact that they're an artist as a reason to vote for them or not. But that's my thought.
Personally, I take a freedom above all stance on most things, you know, so I'm not the person to shut anybody up. There are very, very few things that I think should not be said. So, I mean, power to him. If he wanted to give everybody their opinion, it's just his own opinion, rather. It's just, you know, like Joe said, I feel like it's up to the population, and I feel maybe we need more of this, but I feel the population shouldn't put so much importance on every word that comes out of somebody's mouth that you love. You know, like, just because they have an idea doesn't make it correct. Yeah. And I feel like maybe that point needs to be driven home more with people. But I think if you got something to say, whether you're Kanye West or you're Dre the Music Man, you should be able to say it.
Yeah, like, I mean, freedom of speech, but not free you're not free of the consequences of the speech.
Absolutely.
You know?
So true. Now, I have to take it a step further. Do you guys think, because in 2024, he's going to be running again, do you guys think Kanye West will ever be the leader of the free world, the president?
Oh, God.
Doesn't look very hopeful in the room.
Well, look, let me start by saying, and I guess I'd like to hear what you got to say about this too, Cassius. This whole part 3 kind of put it in it really framed this in a cool way. But you see what can happen when like a very rich, very powerful person starts to lose his mind or starts to have some mental issues. And if you're rich and powerful enough, you never really have to get checked on that, you know, and you can go to your 4,000 acres in Wyoming and do whatever the hell you want. And nobody's really watching you, no matter how crazy you are. As long as, you know, you're not raising any flags and you're not breaking any laws in public, you can pretty much do whatever the hell you want on your own property and kind of, yeah. So like you're left to your own devices. And I feel like this presidential push is Kanye being left to his own devices. Do I think he would make a good politician? No, I don't. I don't think that he's got the interpersonal skills to even consider something like that. Although I heard him on Joe Rogan, I listened to his interview, and I got to say, I do agree with a lot of what he's saying. I do agree with some of his ideas. I like what he says about, you know, how people live and how we have to change certain things about our culture. And the guy, he does have some very bright ideas, but, you know, he should write those down, put them in a book, and forget about presidency, is my opinion.
I like that. That's a good way to put it. And yeah, I mean, he's not completely off the rails with the ideas. You're right. But again, it's the delivery, I think, that needs work.
He might just be bored. Like, I've done this. I've like excelled at this. I've made a fortune here. What's next? You know, and what was going on in 2020, whatever. Like, it was just madness, coronavirus everywhere, Trump everywhere. So it's like, why not, right? What better
at that point? Why not?
What better time to jump into the soup, man? You know, like when it's already just over boiling.
No, it's so true. After this point, we see a little bit of the Sunday service, which was really cool. And I don't know if you guys had any thoughts on that, but for me personally, I think this, and between what he did at Coachella with the amazing outdoor set and the traveling stuff, was maybe some of the coolest Kanye eras that we've had. I mean, I don't know if you guys really followed it or what.
Yeah, some of the biggest production stuff that I've ever seen, I think. Period. And I've seen Roger Waters perform. So like, wow. The guy is stepping it up. You know what I mean? It's not, this is no entry level stuff. And as far as the Sunday service goes, I feel like that's such a positive thing in his life, man. I don't see the problem with that. As long as all those people are there on their own volition. Yeah. I don't see
Blink if you need help.
Yeah, that's it. I think that's probably really a grounding experience. And I think standing around with people and singing up to the heavens, I think that's really good for people. So like, yeah, props to him for that.
Yeah. I think any music music generally in a community kind of environment is healing, you know, and like bonding, you know, so I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No, 100%. So, I mean, in terms of the ending, How do you guys feel like they ended the series? Because for me personally, it seemed like it was almost on a cryptic note, and a note that maybe insinuated that things aren't going to continue to go that great. I don't know, Muck, Dre.
It almost felt like Cootie knew that Kanye wasn't doing so great again, and that maybe if he does take a run for presidency, that people are going to lash out at him, or maybe he's got some crazy idea coming up that not everyone agrees with. So I don't know. I'm interested to see where this goes. He just had another release, right? Donda 2. So I mean, he had another stadium release. Who knows what's next?
It's so hard to tell. I mean, Dre, what do you think is next?
I mean, if I had to guess, unless he gets his ego in check, it will kill him eventually. If it's not the drugs, it'll be something else, another life choice. It comes down to something his mother told him. I took this note because I thought it was very much important to this final note of this. She says the giant looks in the mirror and sees nothing. And it goes back to what his buddy was telling him in studio, how you're not supposed to be the one saying that you're a genius. That's supposed to come from outside. So even though everybody sees you as a giant, you should look in the mirror and see no reflection. If you're going to be a giant, you need that. You need to keep the ego in check, because it'll get the best of us, man. I don't know what I would be if I had all of that success and all that money. I'm not saying he's any different than me. I'm just saying that kind of environment, it'll get the best of us, man.
Oh,
I agree.
You agree? So you think that, it's to be foreseen what's going to happen?
That's what I'm thinking. I think like it's just like 3 dots, at the end of a sentence, it's like we know there's more to come. That's the thing, we know there's more to come.
What was the best part of the series? Was it part 1, 2, or 3? Because for me, I think, we talked about how it left us feeling. For me, not part 1 was the most enjoyable because it was uplifting and it was sort of enlightening, I think, in terms of who he was as a guy before a rapper.
I'd go with part 2 for me as my favorite. But overall, obviously the negative note at the end, but like overall, I think for me, it was a positive experience, the whole thing. I liked watching, getting into it, and just seeing the whole thing play out,
I would say part 2 for me would be the best, just the music production part, seeing him really get into his element, get that College Dropout album done, the way he got it produced and delivered. And then the whole way that this documentary was shot, I think Kudi and Chike did a great job on it. So that was definitely nice to watch.
Yeah, you can mark me down for part 2 also, man. Just seeing him go track by track and put that together, and just the enthusiasm of his collaborators and all of that. It was just such a feel-good thing. I got a question for you guys. I mean, seeing as how we're all podcast hosts, I thought it would be fun if you had Kanye West on your podcast and you were guaranteed an honest answer. What would you ask?
Oh my God, that's a good question.
Wow. That's a great question. I'd ask him that. No. I mean, for me personally, I'd probably ask him if I could get an honest answer.
Yeah.
How much of your antics are just for publicity and how much of it is true? That's the one question I really want to know.
Joe?
Joe doesn't want to know nothing.
My hamster's still spinning over here, man.
What about you, Muck? What about Muck?
I would really like, what are your honest intentions? Like, just, I really, like Cassius said, I really want to know what he's thinking. Like, what's going on up there? Is he really just looking for opportunities everywhere, or is he actually crazy? I don't know. And would he even admit that? Like,
I don't even know if he would be able to give you an honest answer. That's what, if he even knows. You want to know mine? I asked myself this. Honestly, what I want to know, and it's been bothering me, what's in the backpack? When he was performing with the backpack, I would like to know what is inside that backpack, because it did look like there was some weight in there. There was something in the backpack. So it's like an extra drink or some drugs. I don't know, but I would really love to know. Yeah.
Some people like to go on walks, power walks with extra weight. Maybe like he's performing with extra weight. So it's a workout and it pumps him,
Getting his reps up.
One thing I wanted to say, is there a moment, like what's one moment that like gave you goosebumps?
Yeah, it happened in part 3 when he's singing with his mother. That killed me, man. After she passed away, man, I was sad and I had goosebumps. Just, it was such a beautiful moment. That would be it.
That was definitely nice seeing how like close, touchy-feely, like close, you know, like it's all you got in the world, you know, like that's the vibe I got from that. Muck, anything stand out, give you goosebumps?
I mean, the family stuff's always like super, you know, it hits home for me. So the third one was not necessarily hard for me to watch, but definitely I had some parts where I was like, ooh, you know, the shivers were there.
Cass?
It's a great point. You know, I would say the moments with Jay-Z just and the whole Rockefeller crew looking at him like he's a clown. You know, the fact that anybody who even knows Jay-Z knows Kanye as a guy at the same level now, I think that gave me chills, you know, because it goes beyond just, you know, proving yourself. I mean, to become like a rap duo with your hero, that's amazing. So that definitely, I think that's inspiring for anybody in any field.
Cool. For me, man, it was like part 3. Well, there's many, but like part 3, because it's so fresh, was when he was with Common on the Chicago Outdoor Festival, dude. And then like as I'm watching, I hear the don't.
Yeah.
Oh, damn, he's coming now. And dude, like just the vibe of the crowd and him walking on stage, I had like shivers everywhere. I'm like, I love it. It reminded me of like, can you imagine the audience being there and like, wow, they're all freaking out. It's Kanye, right? So it was kind of like when we spoke about like a while back about the Daft Punk, right? When they just made that crazy show that changed everything for EDM, right? Like how EDM shows should do. So it's like I don't know, I was super excited about it. It was like, wow, that was such powerful, you know?
Great moment. Hometown so crowd. Powerful. Amazing.
Yeah. And it's like, you know, it's like when you're at a concert and the lights go off, that energy there, you know, it was like, wow.
No, it's true. I actually got the chance to see the Pablo tour in 2016. And I kind of had that moment because I just sat down to take a quick breather during Jesus Walks and I couldn't see him. But of course, it was a floating stage. So as I'm sitting, the floating stage came like right between the crack between like the person's shoulders in front of me. Wow. And I was just sitting there, just watching him just go through Jesus Walks. And it was like one of the craziest moments of my entire life, I swear.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah,
I haven't had the chance to see him, but man, he does seem like he has a huge presence on stage.
Oh, he does. And
he's doing like Pink Floyd stuff, you know, in terms of that scale, whereas it's never really been done in like hip hop, I guess, or rap, right? I'm sure like Beyonce's put on some like Rihanna or whatever, and whoever else has been up there. But I mean, like, I think this is on a Pink Floyd level. If I would, let's say, like have to rate it, you know, where it's like a pig flying through the stadium with a pig, you know, like this is stuff is like, what? This is crazy. So I think he's there, you know.
No doubt. So I think it's safe to say the documentary gave us our money's worth. I mean, it seems like everybody's pretty satisfied with it.
Yep.
Definitely worth my $15 a month on Netflix, man.
That's it.
Exactly.
Would subscribe again.
It's going up. It's going up, though. It's going to $20.
Yeah, it's going to go up.
Oh, yeah. Anyways, but yeah, definitely satisfied, man.
Cool. Well, I guess that pretty much does it, guys. Was there any other thoughts on Jeen-Yuhs Part 3?
I think that wraps it, man. I think we did a good job. I think we covered all our bases. Yeah.
We're good.
Killer. Well, DBTH Radio, where can all the listeners find you guys?
We are exclusive to Spotify. If you need our links, you can go to dbthradio.com. We're up on Instagram, Facebook. You know what to do.
At the bottom of this video, too, the links will be there.
There you have it. Thanks,
with a special playlist that you guys put together, you and Cassius.
Yep, we'll make sure to include that in all the links on the bottom.
Yep.
Awesome, gentlemen. Thanks so much. This has been fun.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.